were your expectations around pregnancy like that you were going to do your whole pregnancy as if you were not pregnant? And you were like, yes, God damn it. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to Inner Archeology. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Emily, and we're so glad that you are here listening.
I feel like every time we do that, you are surprised.
I feel like
You go, and I'm Emily.
Maybe we need to like delegate who says like, or the structure of it might help me not be so surprised all the time.
It's been the same way every time. I go, welcome to Inner Archeology. I'm Sarah.
That's true. You introduce yourself. I introduce myself. And then we tell people where they can listen, which is
on innerarcheology.com. Or if you'd like to watch us, innerarcheology.tv or YouTube now, which you just have to search for Inner Archeology till we get our URL sorted because we don't have enough subscribers yet. But if you just go over there and subscribe, then it can be youtube.com/innerarcheology. Coming soon. Hey.
Yeah. It's so crazy that that's called like a vanity URL. That just feels really intense to me. It was like,
oh, really?
Yeah. I was just
like, yeah, that's like any, yeah, that's like anything. Like patreon.com is also where you can find us. Patreon.com/innerarcheology. Okay.
You're doing so great. I'm just going to cheer you on. I'm just going to cheer you on and you can do all the things.
Just jump in whenever you feel like it. I'll leave gaps, but you know what? We can also just have gaps.
We could just also, people like gaps.
Yeah. Okay. What are we talking about today?
Just so kidding, remember, I have to like, I don't know.
You have to roast me a little
bit. I don't know the last time I laughed so hard. Like I was like laying at the pool at my apartment complex, cackling, like just like probably so obnoxious to everybody else that was at the pool. But you like, you were telling me about like how hard it is that you can't like do the stuff that you like want to be the certain way, which is the same way as you've always been. But now that you're pregnant, there's things that are so hard. And I remember I was like, oh, were your expectations around pregnancy like that you were going to do your whole pregnancy as if you were not pregnant? And you were like, yes, God damn it. I was like, oh, interesting. We might need to adjust those expectations a little bit.
Yes, I know. I was telling Ben about it and he was laughing too. And I was like dead serious too. I wasn't even like being funny.
No, you were like in it. You were like going through some shit. Like you were having some realizations, I think.
I was like, and you were like, you go, why don't you tell me what some of your expectations were and we can work on changing them? And I was like, as I started saying them out loud, I was like, oh my God, I'm a crazy person. But I was like, well, I just thought that I would eat the same and work out the same. And I never wanted to be one of those women who talked about being pregnant all the time. So I thought I just would never talk about it. And now all I do is eat crackers and I can't work out because I'm too nauseous. And all I want to do is talk about being pregnant. And I hate myself.
There was this moment where I was just like, yes, welcome to the club. Like we were just talking about how like you just feel like a crazy person that never leaves. And you were like, oh, great. I'm looking forward to being insane for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah. I go, wait, no, there's a more specific example than that. I was like, you go, oh, I was like, oh shoot, it was so funny because I said something like,
oh, I remember what it was. It was like,
I was like, and then the morning sickness, I was like, the morning sickness is all consuming, but as soon as it goes away, I'm like, oh no, is the baby okay?
And then
I feel crazy. Yeah. And then you go.
And then I'm like, well, just wait till the baby's here and you'll be spending all night trying to get the baby to go to sleep. And then the second the baby is asleep, you're just gonna be standing over the crib with your hand an inch away from its little mouth to check if it's still breathing. And you were like,
and I was so upset. I was so upset. I was not trying to be funny. I was like, cool. I'm really looking forward to being insane for the rest of my life.
And I was like crying. I was dying laughing because I'm like, I get it. Like I remember being a person who was not a mom yet. And like, it's so much. Like it's so much change and so much to like get through. And I think that's why you talk about it. I think that's why pregnant ladies have to talk about being pregnant, because you're going through so much that you have to process it, you know?
I also like, it's just something that I've had to accept is mine. And maybe this will change in my pregnancy, but my new like 100% is my like 70%. Like right. Sarah, like, and so I'm like operating at like 70%, which is an adjustment because it was only like a few weeks ago that I remember what 100% felt like. And so I'm like sad.
And then there's all
like, this sucks.
And all your internalized judgments around like how you might have criticized yourself if you were only showing up at 70% before. And you have to like give yourself permission to be 70%.
This is so annoying. I actually like, it's not that bad. It's like, it's funny and but yeah, it is just like, I think I just didn't, I'm an asshole, and I genuinely thought that I like wasn't going to be affected by it. I don't know what's wrong.
I like how you preface that with "I'm an asshole." Actually,
I'm just an arrogant. Obviously, I'm arrogant as fuck on some level, or something is wrong with me. I'm a delusional human being who thought that I just would get pregnant and it wouldn't affect me. That's what I thought. To be fair, my little sister was like, she's like, I'm so surprised you have morning sickness. I thought that if anyone was just not going to be affected by pregnancy, it'd be you. And I was like, thank you. Ashley said that.
That's so funny.
I was like, me too. But apparently I am no match for raging hormones and my blood volume doubling and a human being growing in me.
Oh my God. Apparently. I love you so much. Well, you are like, you are so.
Just don't.
Stop. I love you enough for everybody. It's like you are such like a determined person. Like that is such like a core like element of your being. So I don't think it's ridiculous that you were like feeling that.
I was like, I got this.
Because that's how you are with everything, though. So like, of course you were like,
and it works and it checks out. Like
most
in
of the
other
time,
areas of my life, I'm like, I refuse to be uncomfortable in this situation. I will mental my way through it. And then I do it. So I just thought pregnancy would be the same. Right. It's not.
And you're experiencing, and you know what? This is a thing with being pregnant is you experience a level of surrender where you really have to like, you have to surrender to the process of being pregnant. And especially when you're birthing the baby, it's like all surrender.
Well, that one I'm like ready to surrender.
Yeah.
That one
I loved birthing my babies. It was like,
really?
It was like, because it was like, I could finally do something about this thing that has been happening to me this whole time.
I feel like, although I'm learning not to say how I think I'm going to be with anything.
Right.
Because I don't know myself, apparently. Who am I? But I kind of think I'll be the same way. Like, I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. I'm glad that I think I'm mostly out of the morning sickness, which like, thank fucking God. Now I just seem like you're doing all the time.
So good. Yeah.
So much better. I'm still like, energy is at like 70%. 70% is my new 100, I've realized, and I just have to like live with it. But I don't want to puke all the time. And honestly, I'll take like anything over nausea. Like nausea is just like, it's so debilitating.
So draining. It really is.
You just can't do anything else.
It takes the joy out of life, like completely.
It really does. So now I just burp all the time, which Ben thinks is hilarious. He's like a 12-year-old boy. He's just like, God. Like last night, like, I don't know, I was like talking and I just like burped like 3 times while telling a story. And he just like eyes wide open was like, that is fucking hilarious.
Oh, I love you guys so much. It's so funny when you were texting me, you were like, I can't stop burping. I was like, I forgot about the burping. Like there's all these like little things that you're just like,
I'm like literally
nobody told me about
people. This. Yeah, I'll be like having a conversation on like a Zoom call and I'm just like, ugh. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this is who I am now. Like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. I actually have feel like I've like reverted into being a baby, and I keep joking with Ben. I'm like, until the baby comes, I'm the baby. I am the baby now.
Oh my
and
goodness.
you just need to burp me and feed me and put me to bed. Did I tell you the other night I fell asleep on the rug in the dining room?
No.
After dinner, I had my bathrobe on.
Baby.
After
That's
dinner,
like a toddler.
I crawled onto the floor to snuggle Lokes and passed out. It was like 8:30 at night. And just out. God. And Ben was like, "Can I move you to the bed?" And I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good right here."
Oh my God. Ben needs to
I don't know how you can possibly and I slept for like a half an hour on the floor. And then I was like, "Oh, this is uncomfortable." Anyway, fuck, man.
So cute. I know, it really is just like it's so much adjustment in such a short period of time. And then you're like, even though when you're in it, it kind of feels like it's so all consuming. There's just this level of like, what, like when you're on the other side and then you have an infant and then like you don't have any time to fucking process what just happened to you, you know? And it's like what I love about kind of experiencing this with you is seeing you kind of move through it really consciously. When I was like 23, 24, I was not fucking like conscious of like my experience being pregnant and like where my motivations and beliefs were. And so like there's something about seeing you kind of like go through things thoughtfully. It's so beautiful to me. Like it really is. Aww. I just felt like, I felt like I was just in chaos all the time and I was just doing one day at a time.
You were also like in survival mode. You were like legit like surviving.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is like a whole nother layer of like, you probably didn't even have the emotional capacity to like process everything.
I didn't. I joke with you about how like I like for the first half of my pregnancies, I like lost my personality and my sense of humor. Like it was gone. There was just like sleeping and trying to figure out what I could possibly eat. Like what on this planet is not going to make me throw up. And I need to get that in my mouth. It's so much. Yeah.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
And
it's okay though.
So something that we've been talking about a lot, it's been kind of
right. Like this is what we really wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting to unpack because it has like such bigger like connotations like in our society, and I think especially for women. But you've been dealing with a little bit of this like adjustment from. Tell me if I'm saying this right, but like there is a way of being and like a mode of operation, which is like a very self-reliant, independent, like ultra independent way of living your life. And that exists because it was necessary. Like it was necessary for you to get to that place in order to be okay, like to feel protected and safe. And now in your pregnancy, you're experiencing some shifts in needing to be more reliant on other people because there are certain things that you just like can't do yourself because you're super fucking nauseous. I'm kicking or whatever.
And screaming is what I'm doing. It's hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you're hitting it. So I think I have always like overvalued, I think actually, like ultra independence. Like I don't need no man. I don't need anyone. Like I can't rely on anyone,
which is a trauma
story
response.
I have.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a story I like tell myself when I'm like real upset. It's actually like when I'm really upset with Ben, it's like boom, right there. Is I can't rely on him. See? I can't rely on him. And so and also just like valuing it and like I don't know, and separately, but like seeing my parents' dynamics. Like my mom is like a, you know, classic like stay-at-home mom, and not liking that for myself and wanting me to just feel really, really independent. So like financial independence, like top priorities from like the age of like 13. Like I had a job and was like trying to earn my own money and never asked my dad for money from like the moment I was like legally allowed to. Actually, a few months before I was legally allowed to. And it's just like it's like consumed me. But the thing that I'm realizing is because it's so celebrated in like the world today to be like an independent woman and or person, like really it doesn't even matter if you're a woman, but like also, you know, it's not something that I've really there have only been a few times where I'm like, this actually might not be the healthiest. It might not be in me in its healthiest form. And one actual time that I realized that was actually when I read that book, The Second Mountain. Remember when I like got real obsessed with that book? Because it talks so much about, and then also the book Attachments, I think is what that book's called. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Those two books were books where I was like, this might not be like actually like a very like it's like a part of me that's not the healthiest, but because it's so celebrated, it kind of goes unnoticed, if that makes sense, as being like not the healthiest like version, because I've just taken it to an extreme. Like that's why I think I like chose the business owner route. That's why I became an entrepreneur. Like all of these things, like I feel like I go to like great lengths to not rely on anyone. But that's not how we are as humans. And that's what those two books really like highlighted for me. And what I've come to believe is like, I think actually like culturally right now, actually, we have swung really hard that direction to an unhealthy degree. Like commonly, you know, the advice of like, after you break up with someone, be single for a year and like figure out yourself like in a bubble, in a vacuum by yourself. You should be able to be alone and comfortable. And like, yeah, there's some truth to all that, but I think we've kind of taken it to an extreme degree because what I actually believe is that we are really like social creatures, and all of my biggest like growth has happened like within relationships, friendships, partnerships, family, because those are the like other people are mirrors for us. And like when you're in a vacuum, you don't have those triggers and those experiences and things that like kick up stuff for you and like remind you of like, oh shit, like that happened in my childhood and it was really hard. And you don't get the like the feedback, and you don't get like the catalysts for growth when you're like isolated. And so I think that my ultra independence is something that, yeah, it's like a coping mechanism, it's a protective mechanism, and it's gone largely unnoticed by most people as being unhealthy because there are a lot of benefits to it.
It's celebrated.
I'm financially independent. I travel by myself. Like that's one of the reasons I value solo travel, is because I wanted to be able to move through the world confident enough to feel good and like safe, obviously within reason, like traveling by myself. Like that was a choice. It still scares me. Like people sometimes think that that's just like me being brave. I'm like, no, I like chose to make that like a part of who I am. And it's why I so value it. But now with Ben and being pregnant, Ben's the only, also what I'm realizing is Ben's the only person I've ever been in a relationship with where I felt safe enough and trusting enough to kind of relinquish some of that ultra independence. And being pregnant has kind of forced me to. And I'm also like seeing that that's like going to happen even when like, especially when like baby's here and I've just given birth and stuff. And it has been really funny because this has like brought all of this to the surface, me being pregnant and having to like kind of rely on Ben here and there, because I am flailing. It is hilarious. And it's like really funny. Like Ben and I, now that we've like been talking about this and having this conversation, have been like cracking up because I will literally, like the best example I can give you is like we were packing to go on that Catalina trip where we were like, and I just was like, I can't remember why I was like, I got like frustrated with him for something. And immediately was like, can't rely on him. And he knows this. Like I tell him that's my story that comes up when I'm upset with him. He knows that I'm struggling with like really like asking for help when I'm feeling nauseous. He's like, and I looked at him and I was like, I don't need you. And I was so angry. I was like, I don't need you. And he looked at me with like the exact amount of sass and he goes, yeah, but you want me. And I was like, and just like completely disarmed me, and I laughed, but like tried to hide it and like stomped off. And then I was like trying to lift this like this Yeti ice chest like that was really heavy, and I'm like struggling to get it up, but I'm also like pregnant. And he just like comes over and like takes it out of my hand. He was like, and you need me. And then he just like marches it off to the car.
Oh my
And I just was like left sitting there like so frustrated, like I don't fucking need you.
Oh, Ben is
So
so
anyway,
good.
that was like kind of like to catch everyone up in this like big realization I'm going through right now of just like, I don't know, I'm just finding a part of myself that I'm like, that's not like the healthiest expression of that.
Yeah. It's so,
Yeah.
I think this is such, uh, I just love what a beautiful like opportunity for growth for you that this is, and that's, I think pregnancy, a lot of times it is this like womb for so much growth. It's very
Mm-hmm.
like representative of like you developing into like a mother, and this other part of you that's growing, and it makes sense that like because there's this whole idea of balance, like, right, if it's you're too hyper vigilant on one side or the other, codependent versus this like hyper ultra independence, neither are healthy. And yes, one is like celebrated more today because it gets more shit done, you're a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
safe, whatever, it seems strong, whereas codependency seems weak.
Mm-hmm.
But you're having this experience of like being pregnant is like inherently vulnerable, like you're you're
Mm-hmm.
you're more vulnerable, and being reliant on somebody is so deeply deeply vulnerable, like
I
being.
hate it.
And so, because you are, like you said, you're relinquishing power and you're just saying, I trust you to like do right by
Mm-hmm.
me. And it's
Mm-hmm.
terrifying, and I think it's going to be like a practice for you, and a practice to like remind yourself that you're safe. And also the thing is there's going to be sometimes you probably are going to be let down because people are fucking human, and that's like part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that
Yeah, like
I'm
he's gonna
hoping
like get the wrong flavored like something, and I'm gonna
fucking
be like,
Gatorade that you
"Wow,
need.
do you
Yeah.
even know
Wow.
me? Do you even know me?"
I can't
It's
rely
always
on
the
you.
dumb.
Yeah.
It's always the dumb shit. It's always like the
Yeah.
like. There was a comedian that told a joke where he was like, and we often refer to it because he's like, me and my girlfriend were watching a movie together, and I went to get crackers, and then I didn't bring her crackers, and she was like, wow, or something like that. She was like, wow, you didn't bring me crackers, there's no way we're ever going to be able to have children together. Just like went there with it.
All the way.
And that's like, I feel like what I do all the time in this area with Ben as it's like unfolding. I'm like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
you forgot, like, and he's just like, geez, lady.
Crazy pregnant lady. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so interesting, that like duality, because I'm somebody who's struggled with more on like the codependency side of things, right? And feeling too reliant on people and feeling not very strong. And like, so for me, I've had to actively practice self-reliance and independence, and all those
Mm-hmm.
things have been like a conscious practice, and it's uncomfortable for me because I have to like, I'm having to grow my sense of self-trust and all this stuff, right? And like you're
Mm-hmm.
having like the opposite, it's like we're gonna meet in the middle somewhere maybe. And you're
Yeah.
having this other experience where you're going to need to practice surrender and trusting other people to show up for you, and being more
Mm-hmm.
reliant, and letting that be okay, that you can have like family and community, and people can show up for each other when other people are like needing that strength, and it doesn't have to be this isolated, like you're not isolated, right, in your
Mm-hmm.
hyper independence, and you don't have to be,
Mm-hmm.
because there's people that love you.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a new layer of like enmeshment that I've never experienced
Mm,
before. And I just have to keep reminding myself that it's safe, which is
yeah.
like the only thing I've been doing. It's like it's funny because this is usually I feel like, I mean, everything is like a work in progress with us, but this one in particular feels like it's like actively ongoing. Like
Mm,
we haven't often done like an episode where it's like this is what I'm working on like right now.
yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of just like interesting even to have that conversation from that aspect where I'm just like noticing it, and I'm trying to be I don't know. I'm trying to like kind of just laugh at myself with how much I'm like flailing.
Mm,
And I don't know. We've come up with some cute little like catchphrases where it's just like, I don't know. Ben will just be like, "You can rely on me. It is safe." Like,
right.
We're leveling up. That's another one. He's like, we're just leveling up. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole new like layer of trust that neither one of us have experienced, and that'll be good. But
yeah. And I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited for when baby gets here, because there is an element of like, like, there's not really other options here. Like, I actually don't want to do this by myself. Like, you need to fucking like show up in a big way. I'm so interested to see like how this process in you continues to develop when you have an infant and toddler and stuff like that, because it does, I think it will morph and change into being something more like, because right now it's all still in your body, so it makes so much sense that you're having like you're grappling, because you're not having a separateness yet from your baby. Once that's there, it's like another level of things I think that you'll experience that'll probably feel a little bit, I don't know. I'm actually really, really curious to see how all that feels for you.
Yeah, and also another thing I'm noticing, I think, is just that like, because I'm the one who's pregnant, and it's like literally I can't forget that I'm pregnant because of how I feel constantly. Which, wouldn't it be nice if I could just like not know I'm pregnant and then give birth in a toilet? I'm like so jealous of those people. We were
What
just
was
talking
that
about
show? Remember there was like a show on like
I'm
one
like,
of those TV.
I know people are like, how is that possible? That's crazy. I'm
I
like,
think it was
this
called
is
I Didn't
great.
Know I Was Pregnant. There was like a whole show, and I was
Yeah.
I would like, I knew I was pregnant at like, I was sick at like 5 weeks. I was like, oh my God.
I know. I think because of that, it's just so much more top. All of this is like kind of a little more top of mind for me than Ben. Like, that's something I've
Sure.
said to him. I'm like, I just don't feel like you're like, it's just not all consuming for you yet.
Right. Because it's not,
You know?
yeah.
Well, because it's not like
His body.
his body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so
it is so
that's
interesting.
like an interesting thing.
Yeah, it is. Like, and I think it's just, I think that this whole like, 9-10 month process is like, it is something that is like, I don't know, it's transformative. It really is. Like, it's,
I'm interested to see like how it turns out as far as like the independence thing, because I came to a place before even all this was happening where I was like, oh, I don't think that like my version of this is the healthiest. And so there is a part of me that's like excited about like just feeling more attached to Ben, I guess, is like some of the, I guess, the words some therapists might use. But like from a sense of like, I don't know. For me, if I don't know, it's like underdeveloped. All my thoughts on it right now because it's still happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember asking you when we were having that conversation. I was like, "What are the beliefs that you have around like when you hear words like that, like attached, reliant, like those kinds of things?" And how do those beliefs like not apply to what you're going through right now, being with somebody that you love, starting a family, all those things? Because like, and that was like, I think such a good thing to hash out, is just like the story that you were telling yourself about those ideas and those concepts, and how that wouldn't have worked for you in many seasons of your life at all. That would have been unsafe. It would have been, you wouldn't have been
unsafe
okay.
and weak. I would have. I mean, I've already the good thing is I think, and maybe this is why I was like felt ready to like have a baby, because I think that I was already realizing that some of those beliefs were like not good, healthy, or like serving me anymore. But yeah, like when you ask those questions, maybe like 5 years ago or so, I would have thought it was like weak, unsafe. And then I got to a place maybe 3 or so years ago where I was like, okay, I don't want to like keep those beliefs anymore. But then the whole process, as we know, of like trying to like shift your beliefs just doesn't happen overnight, especially because like when I'm triggered, it's like boom, right back into it. I'm like, nope. Because that's when you feel unsafe. And so that like core belief that has kept you safe for so long comes like raging out warrior style and is like, don't worry, I'm here and I've kept you safe for so long, and it's going to just be a practice of being like, you're right, I don't need you anymore.
Right. Or in that role, like that hyper vigilant anymore, like Because that part's always going to be a valuable, powerful part, and like that part is going to get to teach your children. Like it's always going to be such an important part of you. But you're also cultivating this other very feminine part of you, which is like this trust and reliance and like relationship, attachment, connection, those things, which is, I just think, equally as important to cultivate and like have that be healthy too. And I think like both of those, hopefully both of those parts of you can like work together and see how valuable each other is, instead of being like, I'm more important over here, or no, I'm more important over here. Just like valuing both for how like good they are in a healthy expression. They both can have really negative, bad expressions, but they both can be so beautiful if they're coming from a healthy place. And to have that like equilibrium and that balance, it's going to be so great. Like that'll be so nice to cultivate that.
It'll feel more holistic and like complete or something, I think. And I see the value in it. It's just like getting there. But that's all that was like a really good point. Yeah, it's just uncomfortable. And luckily, like, I don't know, Ben is really good at bringing humor to it. So it's been kind of fun to like laugh at. Yeah. Because, I don't know.
That's an important element for you. You need to bring levity into the things.
Yeah. Like, that's right. You're an independent woman. You don't need no man. It's fine. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. So, this is good to kind of chat through because, I don't know, I'm still workshopping it, and that's how we talk. That's how we do it. That, honestly, I feel like that conversation sounded like one of our phone calls.
That's pretty much how it is. Yeah, I'm excited to look back to this topic like down the road, and
when there's and when
I see like what's there,
some of it.
Yeah, that would be really good.
Some realizations and stuff. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, guys. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And until next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.